Good afternoon. All right. You're a quiet audience. I'm sure everybody in the audience remembers the most sensuous song that you want to sing for your partner. Tumko dekha, tu ye khayal aaya. Tell me you don't know the song. And when that song plays, there is one beautiful face that pops in front of your eyes. Aren't you excited to see her in person over here? And tell me if I'm wrong. I saw her today and I told her, I don't see an inch of a difference. She looks the same, glowing, presentable, and very, very, very sensuous. Our guest of honor today, Deepti ji, is here with us. Oh my God. My afternoon, my morning couldn't get any better, any exciting than what it is, couldn't get any more beautiful than it is. And we just passed the Diwali, and we were very excited to see so many beautiful faces after the couple years of pandemic. So happy Diwali everyone, happy New Year, and the beginning of New Year with our Bollywood sensation here, presented by Indian American Forum and AMNA. Two organizations very close to our heart who bring the culture away from home here in the United States. We know the Indians and Americans here, and under the umbrella of Indian American Forum, I'm pretty sure we all have witnessed multiple programs through the pandemic, informative, how to get over your post-pandemic trauma, and now we did a very grand Diwali celebration, and we are now into welcoming our Bollywood stars once again on this platform. So, nourishing our culture, Indian American Forum, led by Dr. Bobby Kikaloti and our own Indu Jaiswalji. And there is another organization, AMNA. AMNA is also another non-profit organization. We help with educational scientific research, and it was actually the brainchild of the alumni of the Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College in Aligarh, India, and they're working in USA and Canada. So two very powerful organizations, and obviously when there is power, we see exciting events, we see lovely events. So without any further ado, I want to bring over on the stage our leading lady, our lioness that we call, from our Indian American Forum, our own Indu Jaiswalji, who has been with us for almost decades, guiding us, helping us, running the community, becoming a role model for several of us, whether it is dealing with any educational issues, whether it is dealing with anything. If I had to call somebody during the pandemic for any kind of guidance or any kind of need I had, the first name that popped in my head was Indu Jaiswalji. And Indu auntie has always been there. She's a mother to us. She's a very, very dear sister to a lot. And of course, she is a loving and a lioness lady. She can make things happen. Without any further ado, let's welcome on podium Indu Jaiswal.
Thank you, Flora, for the kind introduction. Now actually it's afternoon, so I cannot even say good morning, but a big welcome to all of you on a brisk Sunday morning for this beautiful program that you'll be seeing right now. We want to welcome you on behalf of Indian American Forum and the AMNA for organizing this. I'm sorry for the little bit mess up. So we want to welcome you again on this Sunday afternoon. As Flora mentioned something about Deepti ji. So she's my younger sister, and I don't want to tell you how long I know them, but otherwise you think you will know how old we are, right? So we are all, when we came to this country, we were first friends when we came to this country. So that's how long we know the Naval family and the Khanna family and everybody else that's over here. The journey of Deepti ji, you know, the book that you're going to be hearing about and the book that you're going to be reading, that she'll be talking about, you know, we have also been a part of this journey. Because when we met her over here, her passion for the movies was all the time. I'll tell you a brief incident. We used to live in Queens, as all of us started over there. There used to be a program called Taj Geet Mala, which used to come like on, I think, a Friday evening, starting at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. The first Indian program from Columbia University, started by Mr. Yashpal Soi. So no matter where we were always together every weekend. No matter what time it was, if that program was on, we had to stay in that house, listen to the program before we went home. Because those days, those programs were not coming on the car, or we had no cell phones those times. So we have, all of us had the passion for the movies and the Indian music, because that was the only program we used to hear. And we all sat by the radio, listened to the program, and then we all went home. So that was our passion for Bollywood, and that was our passion for the music. And then of course, Deepti ji will talk to you about her journey from New York to Bollywood, as we all know. That was the book is all about. So that's how long we go back, and now I see they're remembering those days. So moving forward, we are looking forward for a lovely afternoon. We want to thank all our organizers and the sponsors and the volunteers who helped us to put this program together. Starting from, of course, you have met our MC Flora Parekh, Dr. Beg from Amna, and Harbinder Singh from Stony Brook University. We want to thank our registration members, Anjush Sharma and Sanjay Sharma, for helping us out with the registration. Jyoti Gupta ji and her group for helping us to put the program together. We have a lot of volunteers here because this kind of a program doesn't happen by itself. We do have the presence here of some of the presidents of different associations. I see Mr. Govind Manjal is here, the national president of AIA, and we also have our trustees over here, Dr. Urmilesh Arya and Mr. Mahendra Singh Taneja. Our trustees are present here for the program. If I miss anybody, please, you can advise me. We do have members from Association of Indians in America and Indian Association of Long Island and IDP USA. So on that note, and we have members from the Child Guidance Center and the other groups that help and support our programs. We want to thank all of you for coming here today. And of course, we have our Nilima ji here. Nilima ji and Harshil will be coordinating the question and answers sessions for you. Nilima ji, we want to thank you from the Vedic Heritage and for helping us out today. If I miss anybody, please let me know. Flora, on to you. Let us move on with the program. Before we start the program, we want to have a moment of silence because day before yesterday, the president of SUNY Old Westbury, Dr. Butts, passed away. We lost a big soul from SUNY Old Westbury. So let us have a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Flora, on to you.
Thank you, Duanti. And now I have the pleasure of inviting another woman power, anesthesiologist from Stony Brook University and serving the underprivileged children back home in India with her passion for a lot of community services in addition to her very busy medical career. She has been helping us out with this program Inside Out with her better half. I have the pleasure of now inviting Dr. Tazim Bey, who is also the Vice President of the Aligarh Medical Alumni Association of North America, spelled as AMANA. Dr. Tazim Bey, the floor is all yours.
Just some technical correction. We want to thank Sagar Restaurant, Mr. Gupta and his team, and Ravinder Kumarji and all the volunteers who help us at each program for our program. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sorry about that. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. She has walked on the frozen Zanskar River in Ladakh, trekked in the Himalayas, lived on a houseboat in Kashmir, held exhibitions of her paintings and photographs, has written short stories and poems, directed television plays and a movie, is a trained Kathak dancer, and of course, has acted in over 90 films of repute. I'm here to introduce to you our chief guest and the author of this eloquent memoir, which is sometimes emotional and poignant, and at other times fun and lively, reminiscent of our own childhood. Who is she? You might have seen her as the lively Miss Chamko in Chashma Badur, or as the sophisticated and slick history professor in Leela, as a subservient Adivasi girl in Kamla, or as the ruthless mother in National Highway 10. Or is she? Quote, पूछ बैठा है कोई जब भूले से कभी नाम मेरा, खामोश लफ्ज़ों में कहा करती हूँ, वो देखो, धुंध में लिपटी वादी के कोने में दूर कहीं एक रोशनी जो यूं ही जला करती है अकेले में, पहचान है मेरी। या फिर भीगी हुई सी रात में सुनसान सड़क के किनारे झोपड़ी की चौखट पे जलती लालटेन की लौ, वही तो हूँ मैं, हाँ वही, वो अंधेरों की पनाह में जलती बुझती शमा सी। तुम चाहो तो दीप्ति कह के बुला लो मुझे। She was the first American Indian girl to join Hindi films. She started with a small role in Junoon, working alongside the stalwarts of the time, namely Shyam Benegal, Shashi Kapoor, Narseen Shah, Jennifer Kendall. In 1980, she gave an award-winning performance in Ek Baar Phir. Deepti Naval had arrived. After Chashme Badur, with the charming and handsome Farooq Sheikh, they became one of the most endearing and iconic on-screen couples of the 80s Hindi film industry. They did several light-hearted films together, including Katha, Rang Birangi, Saath Saath, and Kisi Se Na Kehna. In 2013, they did another film together after a long hiatus called Listen Amaya. Some other noteworthy films followed soon after. Mohan Joshi Hazar Ho, Damu, Kamla, which I believe is one of her favorite roles, Mirch, Masala, and Panchwati. After a decade of doing some wonderful films and working with some of the best directors of the time, she took some time off. But acting is a passion for her, and she returned with a startling performance in Firak, where she portrays a housewife haunted by the 2002 Gujarat boys. Later, she did some other films like Hindi Bazaar, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, and Memories in March. Her secret? Deepti says when she's acting, it all becomes real only after the camera goes on. She finds a connection to something in the scene and just relives that. Her poetry is a reflection of her paintings, which was imbibed from the surroundings and life. Deepti Naval published her first selection of poems in Hindustani, Lamha Lamha, in 1981. Her second book of poems, Black Wind, came out in 2004, describing her writing in the poem Silent Scream. Gulzar Sahab explained, quote, to play the role of a mad woman in the film Ankahi, she went all the way to and lived with the women in the asylum. It was a very close brush with life. It bruised her mind and heart, and she bled poems. That's how sensitive her poems are. The River and I is another anthology of poems about a solo expedition that she undertook in 2002, walking the frozen Zanskar River bed over 8 days. She followed her heart, she says, and didn't want anyone else to come along with her. The photographer. Deepti Naval has always been fascinated by the mountains, being the granddaughter of a Dogri. Growing up, Deepti would trek in the Himalayas with family. So whenever she could, she would escape to the mountains with a camera, sketch pad, and her notebook. Deepti, armed with her Canon EOS 50, shot in the barren, rugged terrains of Ladakh during one winter, and the result was her first photography exhibition, In Search of Another Sky, in New Delhi's gallery, E-Space. The other collections are Shades of Red, showing beautiful random shots taken in Lahore and Kumaon regions, Himalayan road builders, you can see some of the pictures over here, and images of a frozen river. She also has held exhibitions of her photographs in Bombay, Delhi, and London. Deepti likes to use natural shades in her pictures. Fall with its dried leaves and winter with its tranquil blue skies are her favorite times to photograph. The painter. Oh, this is just a picture of one of the mountains that she painted. And the picture on the right is actually, if you can see, she's sitting there in some dhaba on one of her trips, with her laptop, of course. The painter. Though she graduated with a major in fine arts from the City College of New York, she did not pick up the brushes seriously until 1991, where she started on self-portraits from a friend's studio in Delhi. Her trekking trips, or vagabonding, as she calls it, resulted in many beautiful landscapes, including the road to Keelong and Misty Mountain. The one on the right, bottom right, is the road to Keelong. She paints with oil on canvas, using figures and landscapes as her subjects. There's a lot of expressionism in her paintings, but Picasso is her personal favorite. She held her first exhibition of paintings called Reflections in August 1994 at the prestigious Jahangir Art Gallery. She definitely had the genes for it, since her mother was a painter, and she infused the colors of nature through her wanderings. Together, she and her mother visited the little artist villages in France with a lot of enthusiasm. And in February 2006, they both actually held an exhibition called Memories of Another Day, which was very unique in itself because it was a mother-daughter exhibition, which had never happened before in Bombay or elsewhere. And then the director. Deepti Naval made her directorial debut with Do Paise Ki Dhoop Char Aane Ki Barish, starring Manisha Koirala and Ranjit Kapoor. The film won the Best Screenplay Award at the 2009 New York Indian Film Festival. She also wrote and directed Thoda Sa Asman, a television serial for Doordarshan, about 3 women of different age groups who come together at a turbulent time in their lives and then carry on with new beginnings. Her penchant for nature and mountains helped her produce a travel show, a television travel show for I guess Sony TV, or Star TV actually, in 1995. The show explores the remote regions of Kumaon and Garhwal in the Himalayas and is anchored by her friend Vinod Pandit. The writer. As if poetry wasn't enough for expressing herself, with her first anthology of short stories, The Mad Tibetan, in 2011, she entwined her poetic insight and her persona into the art of storytelling. Each story paints vivid pictures of the people in it, letting us into their minds, experiencing the pain, despair, love, joy, and hope. The Mad Tibetan is about an old madman in a red coat that she met during one of her many travels to the vast, bare, and rugged landscape of Ladakh and captured in her camera. Her encounter with the Tibetans' whims, bitterness, and curiosity in the rough, cold weather is very well expressed in that story. One of her favorite stories from the book, however, is her real-life encounter with the first star that shone on her real-life big screen. She was a starstruck 9-year-old in a frock with with her hair in 2 plaits, who experienced a life-changing event just by getting an autograph from a tall, lanky, intense, and polished man, in her own words, called Balraj Sahni. Her description of the events leading up to that moment is pure, simple, and very picturesque. Expression in any artistic medium is her forte. To write, she says, all she has to do is curl up in bed with her laptop and notes. The stage actress. Her latest endeavor, Ek Mulaqat, a play produced by Sarah Hassan, is a fictitious meeting between two literary geniuses, the poet Sahil Ludhianvi and the poetess Amrita Preetham. She uses this medium as an expression of her artistic inner self. Amrita Preetham, by the way, was also the inspiration for her first book, Lamhe Lamhe. These are some different faces of these. The awards, she has been awarded as the Best Actress Film Award for Ek Baar Phir in 1981, the Actress Award for Leela at Karachi International Film Festival, the Best Actress for Memories in March at Madrid, the Best Screenplay Award for Do Paise Ki Doob Charan Ki Barish in the New York Indian Film Festival, and also the Best Actress Award for Listen Amaya. The book, ladies and gentlemen, is a must-read. Her narrative is very simple, eloquent. The words kind of flow. The descriptions are very visual. She almost transports you to the place that she's talking about. And when I was reading that book, especially the parts where, in the beginning, where she's describing how she's coming down in the middle of the night, going down the stairs to take a pee, and she keeps on calling her father to make sure that he's still standing there because it's so dark and haunting. And I almost experienced the whole thing just by reading it. It's just amazing. So everybody really needs to buy the book and read it too. So some of the book reviews, you can see here, they have just really great reviews for her. And I think everyone should be, like I said, a country called Childhood beguiles you with its title, poetic, and yet to the point. The writing epitomizes the quiet dignity of the author's nature, evident in the way she consistently conducted herself as she navigated the minefield called Hindi films. This is from the Indian Express book review. Naval is skilled at evoking the mood and atmosphere of a particular time and place. Chintan Girish Modi says he's an independent writer. With her astute observations and talent for evocative prose, the multi-talented artist is sure to win 1 million more hearts with this memoir. And here is
Wow, what an impressive introduction. Thank you, Dr. Babe, for taking us through all the different, roles Deepti ji has been playing. Thank you so much. We are going to the next segment of our program. We want to acknowledge, actually, I want them to stand up. The Khanna family, Smriti Khanna, Deepti ji's older sister, her husband, Mr. Ram Khanna, the son Apurv, daughter-in-law Jennifer, and their grandson Kailash is here. So give them a big round of applause. We want to thank them for their support. We also have in the audience Dr. Tarun Vasil from the API, Queens Long Island, and the Nargis Foundation. Thank you so much. On to you, Flora. To welcome Deepti ji on the stage to officially launch her book, and then we are going to hear from Deepti ji. Big round of applause for Deepti ji.
With that incredible word and the incredible slides that we played, the multi-faces of Deepti ji, I think she deserves a standing ovation. Can I please request the audience?
Thank you so much, everyone. It's great to be here, back in New York, in Long Island. I'm here among family and friends. It's a very special occasion, and I've been looking forward to this for the last month or two since we started talking about it. And I'm very happy. I just wanted some people to not be so much in the back. Come a little closer so that. So thank you all for being here. I really look forward to interacting with you at the end of this book reading. So thank you all.
And without any further ado, I'm going to call out a few names. If you can please make your way on the stage, starting with Mr. Khannaji, and then Jitin Hingorani, Dr. M.T.S. Khan, Irfan Beji, Dr. Asiya Kabir, Harvinder Singh, Govind Manjalji, Urmili Sharyaji, Mohinder Tanejaji, Dr. Shamim Khan, Tarun Vasil. If you can please make your way to the stage for the book launch.
My sister's just had a knee surgery, so she's going to take some time, but I want her to walk up and be here next to me. Oh, yeah. I want all my family here. For once I'm in Long Island and family happens to be here, so.
Where's my favorite rock star Prashant? Where is he hiding? There he is.
Dr. Intizam Khan, please come up.
Do we have Dr. Basil here?
Dr. Mohammed, please come up.
There you go.
Is everybody over here? Dr. Basil? Nilima ji, can you please come up? And Anju ji, Jyoti ji, please come up for a minute, please.
Yes, I mean, if there's a copy which is here, we can.
Okay, since we are in Long Island, and this is our hometown. So, Deepti ji's older sister, Smriti Khanna, who does not know Smriti ji, the past president of AIA, a community leader, a legend in our community, and supporter of what she's doing. Thank you so much. It's a great day for them to launch this book in USA. Thank you, Smriti ji. Would you like to say a few words?
Really talk. What I want to say is that it took Deepti almost 10 years to do all the research and talk to a lot of family members to put this book together. I happen to be one of those to be woken up at 2 a.m. on the phone and asking all the details about her childhood. But I'm very, very proud of her that she was finally able to put it together, and it's turned out to be a beautiful book. All of you would enjoy it. Anyways, all of you would really enjoy reading it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tazeen. That was a very nice introduction. That was really nice and very well worked out. You covered all aspects, and that was really, really wonderful. So we can now get down to, yeah, we can. Yeah, I think. Hello? Yeah. It sounds like that. Let's make it That's okay.
And now for the, okay, sure.
Hello everyone, I just wanted to remind everyone you can go online on Amazon.com, or you can buy it through Kindle or the book. It takes a little bit, but you should definitely get it and read it.
And now for the interesting part of the day. On the stage, we see, of course, Deepti ji and our favorite Chitin Hingorani ji, who made his way from Texas. Chitin ji, thank you for being here. Just a couple of lines for Chitin ji. He has been the founder and festival director of two very prominent South Asian United States in Dallas, Fort Worth, and New York City, SAF. He also serves as the principal CEO of Jingo Media, and he is involved with multiple traditional traditions. And I'm sure you all saw the flyer out there for the film festival that is happening in Stony Brook at the Charles Wong Theatre. That's Chitin ji. So without any further ado, let's go on to the next part of the segment. I'm looking forward to this one.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Paula.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. How do we feel? Miss Deepti G is here. Let's give her a huge round of applause. Deepti G, congratulations. This is quite a feat. I was up till 4:30 in the morning reading your book. I just want you to know that. And I was thoroughly engaged. Let's start with what was the impetus behind documenting your childhood in so much detail. What was it that made you want to do that now?
I always thought if I write anything autobiographical, it will be my childhood. It will be about my childhood, because that is the one phase of my life which is really worth sharing really. Because coming from, of course, when I came here, when I joined college and I was writing and studying, I thought I must talk. I always felt, from long back in the 70s, I felt that I need to document that time because it was so special. And of course I started, I mean, one can always write an autobiography, which is cataloging your entire life. I did this, then I met so and so, and that's how I got this film and that film. So ये autobiography नहीं होनी थी. Because I thought that is not going to give me the liberty to do creative writing. If I recreate my childhood, this will be my work as a writer and not just a film celebrity who's talking about how she became whatever, you know. So that is the main impetus, was to be the writer in me was looking for a subject that was worth recreating.
And you call it A Country Called Childhood. Talk about the title, such a poignant title.
Yes, I use it as a metaphor. A country, you know, a place which is vast, and how it grooms you, how it impacts you, how it makes you childhood. It makes you what you are going to be later in your life, who you are going to become. It all comes from back then. It all comes from the time you're born, and you know your entire childhood takes into making you the person that you will be. And I always thought that it is so much more interesting to go back, because through the book you will also see all it will take you all to all the origins of where all my different interests come from. You know, mother being a painter, father being a writer. I mean, those were the two gurus I've always had. And since I've never really had another guru in my life, I mean, I've just taken all the inspiration from both my parents. And so I thought I need to tell the people. They already know about Chashme Baddur, Tumko Dekha Hai, wo to sabko pata hi hai. But the people don't know, you know, who you are until you read this book.
Yeah. You know what struck me, Deepti ji, was the amount of detail, especially when it comes to names, landmarks, relationships, sights, sounds. I mean, your sister alluded to the amount of research that went into this book, about 10 years worth. Talk a little bit about the process. Who were the people that you engaged? How did you get them involved? Tell us how this book became so real.
Actually, the work started, the first 4 chapters were written about 20 years ago. In 2001, yeah. I was to take my mother back to Burma. Kabhi thand lagti hai, kabhi, you know. Yeah, the first 4 chapters were written 20 years ago. And then I just realized, when I wrote the first 4 chapters, I realized that I would have to, this is going to be a major project of my life. It's not just putting down memories, like you can always, hum ye karte the, hum wo karte the, aise khelte the, aise. That's not what this book is going to be about at all. It is talking about the times that I lived in, Amritsar being just next door to Lahore, the stories, the partition, it existed somewhere, all the time, you know, and I thought that this is going to take a lot more work out of me to put things together. And then what happens is, one memory triggers another memory, and then something else surfaces, and you don't even know whether it's a concrete memory. So you tap, you know, relatives, you go back to friends. I would call my friends, my Arvind Puri sitting here, Atul in Amritsar, Nandini, my friends, you know, call them up in America, wherever they are, and say, do you remember such and such a thing? And so I just kept making these very dense notes, you know. I decided that unless I do all this research, I would recreate the scenes that I remember very starkly in my head. But then there were other things that I had to cross-check with so many people, because I'm also talking about the history of Punjab, I'm talking about pre-partition history, I'm talking about Burma, I'm talking about so many things. So the work just, the more I thought I've got something now to write, and it's all there. I know I can I write this chapter, the more I realize that I have to know a lot more. And I have to confirm a lot more things. So that's how it went on. And beach mein acting assignments and life and parents. I lost both my parents during the writing of this book. So things kept happening, life keeps happening. But I got a lot of material from my parents because I had them all on tapes. Every time I would come here, I would just sit in front of Pitaji with a tape recorder and say, Piti, tell me how that happened. Okay, he would say, I've told you that. I said, no, say it on, go over it in detail now. Tell me all the details. And my mother, she was such a storyteller. That's where my storytelling instincts come from. My mama. So, it has been a long process. That's what I said. Like 5 years, last 5 years when the publisher came into the picture, Alif Book Company, David and when he immediately got excited about the book because I just submitted 4 chapters and I got a call at 7:45 in the morning and I'm saying, oh, that's the publisher. So this cannot be a rejection call, not at 8 in the morning. So he said, we are publishing your book. And it was very thrilling because then I knew that now I have to complete this project. You know how when there's a deadline thrown in front of your face, then you really have to pull your socks up and say, okay, I'm trapped, now I have to do it. So then the rigorous work began.
I want to also ask about the photographs because the photographs are just so intriguing. You kind of sprinkle them throughout the chapters, and they're so iconic. Did you document your childhood this well, and were you able to find these photographs easily?
Yes, I'm sort of a collector. I'd be very happy putting things together in a museum, cataloging everything.
Adding curator to the list, guys.
Yeah. Curator. I think I have it in me to संभालना होता है ना चीज़ों का. कोई तस्वीर मिली, I would go to relatives' homes and say, do you have old photographs of our time in India, earlier days when Mama and Pitaji were younger, you guys were all younger? They would say, हाँ कहीं पड़ी हैं ऊपर. ये ऊपर कहाँ होती है? I don't know. Every home has all these old pictures lying somewhere ऊपर. So then gradually inspiring them to pull them down, bring those bags out, और ढूंढ के निकाल के. I found there's a picture of Gyani Ji in the book.
And Gyani Ji is your father's very dear friend.
Philosopher guide, and he was a well-wisher of the family. We grew up, with Gyani Ji around us all the time. So I found that in a group photograph from some relative's album. And I said, oh my God, this is Gyani Ji. And then I took it to ReproScan and tell them, please, isko high resolution mein scan kijiye so I can get the best, best of this. It's just a face standing in the back. And that's how pictures were. I kept working endlessly, working over all this. And of course, my mama had preserved a lot of pictures from her life in Burma. She was born and brought up in Burma, Punjabi family, but grown up there. Yeah. So she also had the same habit. I got it from her. Obviously, she had this habit of keeping pictures in boxes, writing in the back. I have her handwriting everywhere, writing little notes. This is Sini, this is Gwenny, this is Gertie Benji. So it all comes from family.
Mm.
Yeah.
I want to start where the book starts, which is the age of 4. The age of 4 was an impressionable age for you. A lot happened at that age. It's your oldest memory. You also got your first lesson in acting, The Boy with the Bowl. I want you to tell us about that. And you had such a close bond with your sister, who's here. Didi. She would make you do something called Chuchi Banja, Ki Koja. Right?
Forever. Yeah.
And you also saw your first film at the age of 4.
Yes.
Impressionable age. Talk about that age and what you remember.
Didi would always, she was 6, not even fully 6, but she used to command me around, I was a big chamchi of my sister. So I was 4 and she was 6, and every time we would be studying in the study room upstairs, which in my head I used to call it the green room because it was painted green. So we'd be studying, and Didi would say, when she would get fed up, with her book, she would say, "Acha Deepti chal, hun chuchi ban ja." So I would start, tutlana shuru kar dete na bacche, start talking in this very lallying, and all the words are all rounded, and the N's and R's are turned into L's, and तो वो entertainment होता था. I would be there always at her beck and call to entertain my sister, and then after she had enough of me with my little act, she would say, "Chal, hun theek ho ja," and then we would both go back to
Do you remember anything specific? Can you do one of the chuchi mojas for us, guys? Right?
I can't do that, but I'll tell you that when I look back at the Chuchi Banja Theek Ho Ja days, I look at that as my earliest workshops in acting. On and start action and cut. Okay.
Yeah, actually you say, you call a lot of these folks characters in the screenplay of your life.
Yes.
And you say you're indebted to these people for giving you that close to life quality that is often attributed to your work as an actor.
Yeah, these are the people who are not at home. I mean, the characters are the term used for people who were there around us. We were living within the walled city. It was a huge looming house, 4-storied structure with several terraces and innumerable staircases going everywhere. But it was surrounded by characters. We were we were on a street which had shops. Darzi ki dukaan, kite seller, Dwarka kite seller, so many little shops, and then there was this Mochi Mohalla in the back of the house. These were refugees from Rajasthan, and when they had my grandfather had opened up the back, to the lane to the back of the house, and said, okay, when they were driven out of the mosque, saying, you can't live here, this is a sanctuary. So unko phir wahi pe bas gaye wo. So they made their houses, their homes and mud huts and everything. So they were forever there. They were literally over our shoulder. तो सिनेमा में एक टर्म है OS, over your shoulder shot, कि इनका shot हो गया, now the camera is there, and then there's a camera here. So they were always over the shoulder. So these little kids, Mochi kids, we would play with them, and the people on the street, our neighbors, the Sharmas living upstairs, and the people in the Samne. Of course, the house was right adjacent to the mosque. It was like literally touching the walls, two walls touching the little gully in between, going into Mochistan, what I used to call it. Gogin, I used to call it Mochistan. So, वो तबेला सामने है. So all these characters, I mean, I got so much to observe. I didn't know at that time that I was going to be an actress and I will grow up and I should observe these people. No, it wasn't like that at all. They were just there, and I think I have an observation streak of observing people closely without letting them know that I'm actually making mental notes. And I think I had that from the beginning. That's how I remember each and every character. Even the Dioli's husband, who would drink every night and get beaten by his wife, and how he would get a black eye, and how he would walk backward. So, I mean, these are observations, and this, yeah, it did help. When I remember when I played Shakti, when I worked in Shakti, and I had this showdown scene with Nana Patekar. It's a scene where he's shouting, and then I have to go above that and shout back at him. So I was reminded of this woman in Mochistan called Dioli, and I said, Dioli, and that's how characters come up. People you've known, you don't consciously dig them out, but you know that somewhere they are there in your emotional reservoir of your memory. They are there. There are so many things, so many looks, so many gestures which are stored there, and you're going to relate to it. So,
I found it so fascinating, Deepti ji, that you grew up right next to a mosque.
yes.
Especially after partition, right after partition.
Yeah.
There was no one praying at that mosque,
No,
obviously,
it was
because
deserted.
it was deserted. And you described hearing azan for the first time, the
Yes.
call to prayer.
Yes, 1956. Partition happened in 47. There were no Muslims in Amritsar at that time. So said my father, always he said that, कि मुसलमान नहीं थे, वो सब लाहौर चले गए थे. And then the mosque was deserted. It was this, where the street, blackish, thoda, weather beaten kind of. And it was always there. I was always fascinated by it. But in 56 or 57, the first azan was heard. And there was a man standing there, and my father picked me up in his arms, and Didi and I, we are looking up. I don't know whether, let me tell you, she thinks that she may have contributed a lot to my book. Whenever I would ask her any question, she would say, "Mainu nahi aata." So much for contributing. Now I hear him, recalling more memories than when I was writing the book, and I said, "Why did you tell me this earlier?" But yeah, so there is very distinct memory of the first azan, because this was early in the morning, and in the month of October or something like this, when we haven't really, it's not become terribly cold, so we haven't moved downstairs in the Barsati room as yet. We're still sleeping on the upstairs, and it was something new to hear the azan. And then of course the azan became part of our lives. And we would hear it 5 times a day, 4-5 waqt ki namaz jo hoti hai. And it was fine. We were an Arya Samaji family. No murti puja, no temple going, no nothing. We were okay with the azan. I went to a Catholic school. We were doing our havans on Sundays or on occasions. And school में हम church में जाते थे, वो भी ठीक था. और ममा was fascinated by the Golden Temple. वो वहाँ ले जाते, कभी-कभी शब्द सुनने के लिए बिठा देती थी दीदी और मुझे, और दोनों को अंदर ले जाती थी. We would sit there, listen to the shabad for some time, and then she loved that. So one grew up in an atmosphere where all religions, all practices were so okay. Oh, you are okay, I'm okay. It was that story. Yeah.
You also devote chapters to the important people in your life, your sister, your Bauji, your grandmother, your mother, your father. I would love for you to read something that I found very beautiful on page 76 about your Bauji. It starts with, "To my utter delight." It's the paragraph that starts there. It's a few paragraphs about your Bauji that are just lovely, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with the audience.
Okay.
"To my utter delight."
Acha. He was a criminal lawyer, so that's why to my utter delight. To my utter delight, I discovered quite recently from one of my uncles that my formidable Bauji was a passionate moviegoer. "Your grandfather had another side to him," said Bindu uncle. "He loved Hindi cinema and watched a film every day." Every day? I was stupefied. You see, that was the only entertainment those days. After a hard day's work at the courts, your Bauji would make it a point to go to the cinema hall and watch a little bit of the movie showing there for relaxation and then walk back home. He'd go either with a chap called Daulia or with Mulchand, his munshi, with whom he would then chat on the way back home discussing the plot of the film. In Amritsar those days, as I have mentioned, there were 3 cinema halls in the vicinity. Chitra Talkies, Regent Talkies, known as Kanhaiya Lal Da Mandua, and Amrit Talkies. And Bindu uncle told me, Bauji had a box reserved in all the 3 cinema halls throughout the year. There would just be a box reserved. What the hell is going on here? Okay, my image of my grandfather with his pagdi on his head and a walking stick holding a bag full of melons did a somersault.
And it's at this point you realize that you come from this genealogy almost of cinema. You have your grandfather, you have your cousin Indu, you have your mother who's this artist.
Yes.
Talk about that realization and how empowered you felt.
Yes, my mother actually must have been, the earliest influences has been Mama. She loved dance, drama, music, and she came from a home where all these things were appreciated. My Nanaji brought home a gramophone. My Nani was in love with that gramophone. The whole family would just, surround the gramophone in the evenings, and the evenings would be for music in their home in Mandalay. Those kind of things, I grew up from the age of 2 listening to those stories from Burma. So there was a lot of artistic ingredients there, to pick from. And then I had a cousin brother. Mama too, I've seen my mother performing. My mother performed at Chitra Talkies. She used to do plays for, chanda ikattha karne ke liye. For the refugees coming in from Lahore, though these girls would perform on stage and collect money to support the refugees. And of course, Mama's drama and dance interest did carry forward. That is one thing I feel, a lot of angst about. She could have been an artist in the truest sense. But my Bua's son, Indu Bhaiya, उनको एक्टर बनना था because he looked like Devanand. He literally, there's a picture of him in the book. He does, and वो puff, उनका Devanand puff होता था, and he was this handsome eldest brother in the family, and he would always tease me because I had this sadhana cut, fringe. पता नहीं why I had it and Didi didn't, but I lived with it most of those years, early years, and Indu Bhaiya would keep telling me, sadhana को जाना है, sadhana को. And I would say, I quite liked the idea, actually. He planted it in my head. It must have come from Mama first, because she loved Devika Rani, she loved Betty Davis, and she was she loved the old film stars and the music, the Bengal. So these things have come from, Mama had a cousin brother who ran away from Rangoon and joined the Bombay Talkies. Sunny Bowry, he wanted to be a dancer. And then much later family told me that yes, if you watch that song carefully, Ramaiya Vastavaiya, उसमें वो पीछे के जो dancers हैं, उसमें Sunny Bowry दिखता है. And I've been looking like really hard. Whenever I see, I just look so hard at the dancers in the back. कि वो जो photo मेरे tin box में है, वो शक्ल है क्या पीछे कहीं? Because he left home for that. So there is this element of wanting to be a performing artist in the family, So I think it just comes from those people.
Your descriptions of your mother were especially poignant. There's one section that actually was probably my favorite section in the book, page 85.
Yeah.
It starts with a Russian ballet was performing in town. Please read that section about your mother, because I think it just defines so much about how much you emulated her. A Russian ballet was performing in town. Page 85.
85? Yeah, 86.
Start.
Okay, all right.
Hindu version.
Yeah.
A Russian ballet.
Yeah, a Russian ballet was performing in town, and Mama and Piti had gone to catch a show. My Sardi was cleaning the kitchen. Over at the masjid, the pigeons had settled in for the night. In Mochistan, the nightly singing with the dholki and manjira had begun. The neighborhood cat, after having had its fill of milk from the katori outside our kitchen, was sauntering across the wall into Muni's house. It was late. All of 5, I'm standing in front of Mama's huge wardrobe mirror, entwined in her soft chiffon sari. It puddles around my feet on the mosaic floor, 6 yards of sheer bliss. I glimpse my image in the mirror, wrapped in folds of burgundy. I can smell Mama on me. My hair cropped across my forehead is just long enough to slip behind my ears. There's no one around. The fragrance of Raat Ki Rani that Mama loves so much fills the house. Tonight is my first ever go at Mama's wardrobe. Slowly and carefully, I start to wind the soft, slippery fabric around me. The folds of the sari turn out uneven and zigzaggy, not the way they fall on Mama. But I'm thrilled to see my little sari-clad form in the mirror, entangled in the delicate layers. Moving back a little, I lift my feet. It's not easy to climb up on the stool by Mama's bed, but I somehow managed to reach the brass handle of the drawer and see inside the lipstick, the comb, and the tin of Yardley powder, the one she uses after her bath, patting it around her bosom. I draw out a glazed lipstick and smear it on. I'm fascinated by what I see. Bright red lipstick smudged around the edges of my mouth. Perfect! I'm doing everything exactly as Mama would. Drape her sari, winding the pleats to a count of 6. Always a count of 6. Throw the pallu across her chest, pin it at the left shoulder, and then stand in front of the mirror and put on the lipstick. I've watched her doing it a million times. She starts with the upper lip, from the center of the mouth down to the left corner, then from the center again to the right corner. Then she goes at the lower lip in one sweeping motion, side to side, filling up the entire lip. She then smacks her lips to get a blended finish. Before the lipstick rolls back into the gold case, Mama places it in the center of her forehead, turning it round and round to get that perfect bindi. My mother looks heavenly, and I want to grow up to be just like her one day. That's all I want at age 5.
It's absolutely beautiful prose. That paragraph really stuck with me. We could talk about this book forever. I have so many more questions, but I'm being told that we need to move over to the audience Q&A at this point.
Yeah, but I want to read one chapter. Not the whole chapter, but the little blue frock
Oh
fiasco.
yeah, it's on my list. Okay, I'll tell you. It is blue frock
fiasco.
It is page 144.
Okay.
I love the blue frock fiasco.
So on Diwali nights, Didi and I would both get new frocks. Mama would dress us in identical frocks. She would sometimes stitch them herself, very often. And then the Sardar Darzi across the house, right in front of the houses, the old Sardar tailor, he would make our clothes also. So this time I'm describing this one Diwali night, jab frocks banne diye the, and we are waiting. One Diwali night was particularly eventful. I would later remember it as the blue frock fiasco. I must have been about 7 years old then. In preparation for Diwali that year, Mama had cut out from Women in Home a beautiful picture of 2 little white girls wearing identical frocks. The frocks were a rich, deep blue with gathers at the waist. Dainty white lace frills hung off the edges of the collars and sleeves. Mama wanted the exact same blue frock stitched for Didi and me for this Diwali. She had a very fine piece of white muslin lying in the wooden almirah, which she decided to get dyed a brilliant blue. The muslin was pulled out from the cupboard one afternoon and taken to the rangwala, who dyed the same blue. Mama carried the magazine with her to show Color Singh. Now in my head, I used to have names for a lot of people and things. So the rangwala, in my head, in my imaginary world, I would call him Color Singh. No offense. To show Color Singh exactly what she desired. As blue as this, she told him, nothing less. It's called Prussian blue. Yes, he assured her as if understanding Prussian. Then the old Sardar tailor from across our house was called in. I want the exact same pattern, she said, placing the magazine in front of him. The old man got down to work immediately, Diwali being just a day away. The day of Diwali, I was very excited. Every now and then, I'd run to the thada to check if the frocks were ready. Day turned to evening, and evening came to be night. But this Diwali night, the frocks did not get stitched on time, though the darzi stayed up till late working on them, little blue strips scattered all around him. Both Didi and I waited. I remember we didn't light up a darkers that year. We simply waited on the thara for the tailor to finish sewing on the hooks and buttons and hemming the sleeves and collars so that we could get to wear our new frocks before the night was over. I walked up to the terrace and leaned over the edge looking down at the mochi dwellings. How beautiful their homes appeared, lit with oil lamps, the sound of their nightly dholak more rigorous, the singing more intense. The mud houses glowed with freshly coated walls and the white powder motifs painted on the thresholds around windows. The scene looked like it was out of a picture book. Yet despite the lamps and the rangoli and the music, there was something sad about this Diwali night. On our terrace, we had not lit the candles. As the night wore on, the festivity around us began to fade. The firecrackers that had lit up the sky a while ago, creating a fantastic backdrop for the white minarets of the mosque, had dwindled to a handful of flashes here and there. Children around the neighborhood had finished bursting the last of their crackers and were now going back inside their homes. This was the quietest Diwali for us girls. The thunder of explosions and dazzle of lights had died down. Only one yellow bulb still glowed. The old Sardar Darzi, sitting on his wooden stool, working away in his modest establishment, giving the finishing touches to our frocks by hand. He was the last shop still open in the bazaar, in the street. Both Didi and I were quiet. Mama stood at the threshold with us, sharing our disappointment. All the iron and wooden shutters of the shops on our street had clanged shut, a finale to the Diwali night. We came back inside the house, time for us to change into our pajamas and get into bed. This Diwali was gone forever from our lives, uncelebrated. Suddenly, there was a knock on the phatak. Without pausing to think, I ran to open the main gate. I perched on my toes to push up the iron latch so the small gate would be released open. In my heart, I knew whoever was knocking on our door at this hour could only be God sent. And sure enough, there he was, the old Sardar Darzi, standing in the dark, his face frayed and tilted to one side, both his arms stretched out. My eyes lit up at what I saw. Our very own Messiah, his grey beard and white turban glowing in the light of the street lamp, the Savior himself. In his hands he held two hangers on which hung frocks of the most brilliant blue I'd ever seen. The old tailor's face had a faint smile of regret and benediction at the same time. I looked at the frocks and then at him. Didi came up behind me. There we were, two little girls, misty-eyed, gaping at the old man who stood Jesus-like, blue color dripping from his palms. Mama quickly changed us back from the pajamas into our new frocks. That Diwali night, we were the last two girls up on a terrace, lighting firecrackers, invoking the gods, illuminating the dark skies. Thank you. Thank you.
So I believe we're going to begin the audience Q&A at this point.
Yes, absolutely. But what an inspiring story. And Deepti, you are so detailed. No wonder you make a good author and an orator as well. Kudos to you, Deepti. Thank you. We're so fortunate to have you here. And
Thank you.
I know there are fans who have traveled and who have drove long distances to meet you. I think the farthest distance here we have today, somebody who came all the way from Australia. There is an actor here with us, Sunil Maharaji. He came all the way from Australia. So your fans have no boundaries. They just travel anywhere and they find you. So that's the love and the passion.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
And there is somebody who came from Illinois, I'm told. Oh, there she is.
Oh, thank you so much.
And there is a Children's Hope group here as well. So these guys are, distance makes no difference to them. It's your love that makes them travel all over. And with that, I request, we have two folks around here. We have Nilimaji and we have Harshal here. They will be passing the mics around if for anyone who wants to ask a question. Does anybody have a question in the audience? We have the microphones there. All right, Dr. Beg has a question here.
All right.
Deepti ji, I'm going to digress here for a little bit.
Yeah.
And would like to know about your next book. Will it take off from where you left off here, like 19 years or something?
No, that would make it autobiographical. I'm a little, I'm not a great enthusiast when it comes to autobiographies, but yes, there will be, when I talk about my journey through cinema, definitely there'll be references, back to New York all the time, because that also has played a lot of, I used to do a radio program here. And that's, I met some of the celebrities when I was a student at Hunter College, City University. This book actually ends. It starts from the time I was born and it ends with my completing my teenage years. At 19, the family migrated to the US, and that's where the book ends. It is called A Country Called Childhood. So there's no journey from there to here to then further to Bombay, not in this book. But I will definitely like to write about I met some amazing, wonderful people in Bombay, got a chance to work with them. So वो तो लिखना ही होगा कभी in the near future. But there are other books in my laptop, so I don't know which one next.
Especially Farooq Sheikh sir, right?
हाँ वो तो पहले की बात हो चुकी है, वो तो नया कुछ कहने को भी नहीं है. But yes, I will. Yeah, he used to always make digs at me, so it'll be my chance to do that when I write my autobiographical journey through cinema.
And one quick question, Deepti ji. In this digital age of Google and online and everything, what is the message you want to give us to our younger generation with all the book readings?
Books should never be take a back seat, because I think when you read, you can visually, you can, sorry, say something? नहीं, हाँ, तो किताबों, see books, I think one should go back to books. If the youngsters have moved away from it, I think, because what you can say by writing, you cannot show in an image. You can show an image and you see the image and you pass, because there is so much of visual happening. We are flooded with images and clips on social media, on the internet, on YouTube. There's so much going on. But when you hear words, when you hear an experience, that kind of stays with you as a much more lasting thing. I've described in the book how when I met Balraj Sahni, how it impacted me. So it was not just watching him and listening to him, it's that encounter. So if a book can give you an encounter with a slice of life somewhere else you haven't known, you will not know. You can only read about it and it shares that with you. And I think that's a different kind of a high that people get. I know a lot of youngsters now who are saying that we are actually going back to reading. हमारी आँख को फर्क पड़ता है. We are looking into our cell phones the entire day, and then we are in front of our laptops. The whole, that's what we are shuffling between the laptop and the cell phone. So they are saying that it's kind of easier to just let a book speak to us. It's just nicer, it stays longer.
Very well said, and it stays focused as well. Anybody in the audience have a question?
Yes.
There. The mic is coming around. Hang on.
Flora, can I take over the questions here? First and foremost, Deepti ji, thank you so very much. In the glitz and glamour of the Bollywood world, there are some people who are in our subtle minds and who are there to stay as stalwarts. You are one of them.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here. And long-term memory, all your memories down there. Please guys, take a moment, dive into it, and go into an actor's journey. She is reflecting back, and the memories are very poignant, as Mr. Ibarani said.
You can order the book on Amazon, and I was hoping that people would order the book earlier, so that when you come here, you bring the book and I'll be able to sign.
You can sign.
Chalo, agli baar.
आपने कहा, दीप्ति जी आपने कहा कि कुछ फोटोग्राफ्स थी जो आपने एटिक से ली। यहाँ आपके जानने वाले बहुत हैं, उनको कहिए बेसमेंट में जाके निकाल। हाँ, बेसमेंट में जाके। ठीक। और मैं आपको एक शुभकामना के साथ छोड़ना चाहती हूँ before I take the mic over for Q&A is, मान लीजिए कभी इस बुक की विजुअल थिंकिंग है, मूवी बनी, तो इसमें जो आपने टिप्स ली हैं अपने पेरेंट्स की, I think that will become a wonderful segment and a wonderful
If
piece to
somebody
be
decides to
added
make
to
it,
your
yes.
life and to all of our lives.
Yes, all that material is there with me. It's my prized possession.
और एक मिनट में चुची बन जाती हूँ, ठीक है? चार चपर चमेच लोग जो रोज मेज से जो बीच बोझ लाच जाता है. Please, questions please. Thank you. The first question coming from Mr. Bay himself. He has, I believe, one or sorry, I'm going to go to
One second, somebody in the back.
in the back at the moment. He was first.
Deepti ji, you have mentioned in the book that your mother considered herself as the beauty queen of Bengal.
Bengal.
Why not Punjab?
No, because she didn't know much. She was born and brought up in Burma.
Okay.
She was born and brought up in Burma. So they had this Rangoon Gazette used to be a magazine which used to come in the house in Mandalay. तो उसमें या तो हॉलीवुड के स्टार्स दिखाते थे because Burma being in close proximity with Bengal, you know, so there was a lot of influence of Bengal, and they had this gramophone at home जिसमें long play records उनके पास थे, जिसमें ज्योतिका रॉय, कानन बाला, देविका रानी, I mean there are all these Bengali singers, bhajans and all that. So she was very fond of all that, and definitely Bengal sensibility is known throughout the world. Tagore and the poetry and the Bengali culture, it is something that she felt closer to. She will know Punjab only when she gets married and comes to Amritsar.
Okay.
Till my childhood, she was the beauty queen of Bengal.
Yeah.
And she was beautiful looking, you know. So
I purchased this book and I could have finished, I could have completed reading this book within a week by binge reading, but I continued reading it for 1 month.
Please don't binge read, yes, just savor it.
Yes, savor.
Let it brew in your heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed reading the book. I mean, I can't express my joy reading this book.
Oh, thank you so much. That says so much. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. B.
Welcome, Deepti. It was wonderful listening to you. Absolutely fabulous. And I read the book a little bit. Well, just for that, I would say my daughter, she drove like how many miles? 3,000 miles from Florida just to see you. I mean, last time she reached here like 12
Oh my God, isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Such a great fan of all of us. All right. In your book, I was reading that you said in your journey that the sights, the sounds, and the experiences are changing. They're fast vanishing. What do you mean by that, and how do you portray it?
Yes, the old world is going away so fast. It's almost dwindled now. You know, when you go to Amritsar, it's not the same city anymore. There's Bhandari Bridge, तो पहचान में भी नहीं आता. The mosque is all painted and beautifully done. I mean that everything has changed now. Everything changes. This is how many years back now? 40 साल तो हाँ मतलब 40 साल तो हो गए from the time I lived in. Yes, so in 70 we migrated, and now we are in 2022, so you know that many years. So when I go back, I've seen the changes. I did keep going back when I was during the writing of the book, but I did see the changes happening, and now it's kind of unrecognizable, except for the Golden Temple, beautified. But Jallianwala Bagh is No, not as it is at all. Not at all. They made it into a garden. Park बना दिया है. उसको beautify करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. If you go to Hiroshima, you will see how each and every building and the walls they preserved. जैसे bomb हुआ था, जैसे वो destruction हुई थी, उसको as a reminder for the world that we are not going to get there ever again. वो था, वो रखा हुआ है preserve. हमारे तो यहाँ पे रेड स्टोन और वो लगा के पेव करके में तो कुआं भी नहीं दिखता इतनी आसानी से. You have to look. वो गोली का निशान दीदी ना है. You know, there were some foreigners visiting my parents, and father had taken them to Jallianwala Bagh. तो वो पहली बार मैं भी साथ में गई तो we had seen those गोली का निशान हर जगह I mean दीवारों पे. So beautify कर देने में that's not preservation. अब वो इतनी I don't want to use the word, इतनी समझ नहीं है कि वो it should have been kept as is.
You know, that leads me to your house. I'm just curious, is your house still preserved? Because I fell in love with your house in this book.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the way you describe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The house is gone. Unfortunately, my father, in all the years that he was here, he kept feeling that nobody's there to look after the house. It was falling apart. And I remember when the workers finally came in to demolish the house, they said, "Isme kuch nahi bacha hai." And I just left that room and I went aside and I was standing near the wall, near the kitchen, and I'm saying, my God, so many memories. And he's saying, कि इसमें कुछ बचा नहीं है अब. He was talking about the concrete, ईंटें गिर रही हैं और ये हो रहा है, it's, you know, hard to. But I don't know. I never had the money to restore it. It was a, you know, 500 square yards में बना हुआ मकान इतना बड़ा सारा. It was difficult to think कि इसको restoration हो भी सकती है. It was too gone beyond restoration, I think. That's what the municipal corporation said was.
Yeah, I think we have our next question.
So it's a very sad thing that the house is non-existent now. That's the thing I regret most after writing this book.
Deepti, I will fall short of words. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I'm from Amritsar as well. Mere mama papa. I am a big fan of yours. I'm also an alumni of Sacred Heart School, and you are such an amazing, decorated school alumni. It fills me even more pride to actually have a chance to see you in person. And I haven't read your book, but I've ordered it, and I was hoping to have it before I come here so I can get it autographed and show it to the whole world that I actually met you in person. She's absolutely decorated in the school walls, and I'm 95, pass out in 10, so which is a few years after you had left. तो अभी भी स्कूल में बातें होती हैं दीप्ति जी की और किरण बेदी जी are two very popular decorated females, if you will. We come from a very conservative city, Amritsar, as Deepti ji would tell, but having someone like you who has achieved so much is very telling. Actually, आपके ऊपर एक बात हो रही थी recently when I went to school. I said you should actually have a chapter book about yourself to teach the kids, the girls especially, to be able to make their own careers, you know, stand up for who you are, own the ground, as they say. कुछ स्कूल के बारे में कहेंगे तो I just want to, you know, share it with my school friends as well. I'd love to hear something from
School के बारे में I've written a lot about the school in two chunks. You know, when I was small, when I was a baby, the impression that the school, the impact the school had on me, the nuns especially. I've written extensively about the nuns because at that time we didn't have Anglo-Indian nuns. There was just one Anglo-Indian nun, Sister Rita. The rest were all European nuns. They were from the Belgian congregation of 1933. So they were all Europeans and they were immensely strict nuns. So I've written about each nun, you know, in school and how, of course later on as we entered high school, 8th, 9th, 10th, then there were other teachers. The Indian teachers came in. Hindi teacher Miss Sudesh aa gayi thi, Miss Hussain aa gayi thi to teach us history, and you know, this book is, since it is 400 pages only about childhood, so you can imagine मैंने school के बारे में कितना इसमें लिखा. I've written about Kiran Bedi. I've written a little. There was a little scene you know, Didi, my sister, and Kiran, Bedi, they are both standing near the school ki ghanti baj gayi hai, school is over, and I've written a poem in class, my first poem. And I'm running to because I used to sit behind Didi's bicycle and go home. तो मैं भाग के गई दीदी जहाँ खड़ी थी, तो I said, Didi, I've written a poem. So then I saw Kiran standing just next to her, and I kind of put the paper behind me. It is a very silly something I'd written, you know, some ridiculous thing. It was a poem about barish, and the line said, "Pani bhaga bhaga aaye." Now it's hardly a poetic line, also, you know, and I didn't want to show it. I said, no, I don't. And Kiran said, no, dikhao, let's see what you've written, Deepti. And she was always very precise, you know, to the point. She would always talk to the point and say what she had to say. And so I, you know, I'm very embarrassed to read those 3 lines. Pani bhaga bhaga hai. So she, you know, I thought they are both going to burst out laughing. But Kiran said that, Deepti, this is the first poem you have written. You must keep writing because you have written what you exactly feel. Pani bhaga bhaga hai. You know that. She said, with each poem, you will write better and better. So you must pursue. I mean, you know, when I think about it and when I think writing ka kahan se aaya, of course father was a writer. तो उनका मेजर काम तो इसी कंट्री में आके हुआ. He's done a major academic book about the psyche of the immigrant, the phenomena of migration throughout the world. It's called Striped Zebra, the Immigrant Psyche. That's my father's work. तो मैं हमेशा उनको देखती थी, वरांडे में बैठ के वो टाइपिंग करते थे. तो school has been is very extensively talked about in my book. You'll find it interesting to read those chapters. Yeah.
Just to add to that, Deepti ji, the one part of the school journey that really stuck with me was Nita Devi Chand and your relationship with her. Can you just a few words on that?
Yes, there was this very dear friend of ours in school. Her name was Nita. She came from Simla and she just joined. And as soon as she joined, she just became part of our group. होता है ना 4-5 लड़कियों का ग्रुप होता है 3 या 4 लड़कियों का. So she was the 5th one to join the group. We used to call ourselves the Nirala group क्योंकि नए हम हिंदी लिटरेचर पढ़ने लगे थे 7th में ऐसा कुछ मिस सुदेश की क्लास में. तो we used to call ourselves the Nirala group because we loved the poetry of Nirala. तो Nita joined and she became one of us. And but we didn't realize at that time she was sometimes there was this aspect of her being mentally disturbed would surface, and we didn't know because we didn't know how to handle it. And she had a sort of lesbian tendencies which we didn't know anything about at all. We hadn't even heard the word lesbian, so we didn't know how to handle that also. We were like very confused कि कभी-कभी इसका behavior बड़ा अजीब सा होता है ना. तो इस तरह से. But she was brilliant as a writer, brilliant poet. She was a brilliant dramatist. She would direct plays, she would act in plays, she would sing. But unfortunately, there was this other side to her, which was harming herself in a physical way. You know, she would hurt herself. कुछ कर लिया अपने आप को या दरवाजे में हाथ दे करके दरवाजा बैंग कर लिया कुछ. So we would, even at 15, what do? You try to make semblance of, you know, and because we loved her so dearly. तो उससे मुझे काफ़ी मेरे दिमाग में impact हुआ कि having observed Nita and having known of her sort of aberrations in her mind, you know, where it would take her, being a little out of concern, being a lot more curious about what is it that drives people to that point where they can start to harm themselves. And I think that is one of the reasons, like, when I came here and I joined college here at Hunter, I took up abnormal psychology as one of my serious subjects. I studied it.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah.
Along with my painting was my major subject, but then there was American theatre, there was astronomy, and there was abnormal psychology. And I think that comes because बचपन से वो देखा है, तो
ऐसा कुछ है जो आप नहीं करती हैं? I have seen I have never seen a multi-talented woman. It's very rare. I wish we could clone you.
जैक ऑफ ऑल ट्रेड्स भी कहा जाता है।
नहीं वो तो नहीं कहूँगी आपके लिए।
Jill of all trades.
Jill of all trades. We have a question there, and Harshal, if you can bring the mic to Jyoti. Jyoti has a question as well after this. Bring it here to Jyoti.
Hello.
Hi, ma'am. Hi.
First of all, it's really inspiring listening you recite your words. It's an amazing experience. I haven't read the book yet, but after this session, I'm definitely really excited and looking forward to it. Just drifting away from the actual subject of the book, I would like to take your comment on the narrative film that you did, Do Paise Ki Dhoop Charani Ki Barish. How is the writing process? For that?
So, no, we're not here to really talk about cinema today. For once, it's my book.
Okay, I was just asking, how was your experience writing a memoir and a narrative?
I think my memoir is written pretty much like a novel. Instead of telling the reader, हम ये करते थे वो करते थे बचपन में. I mean, there's one way of writing that also. But I've taken time to sort of take the reader along with me into those corridors of memory and showing them how we were living, what I was experiencing, what I was thinking of, what was impacting me. So I've really, written it like a novel, like screenplay, you can say, but even screenplay is different. Screenplay counts a lot on actors to portray their emotion. It gives you a lead line at the top, and then it gives you the dialogue. The rest is for the actor to bring into the scene what is not written on the page. But a memoir makes you recreate. Autobiography doesn't do that. A memoir does that. It helps. It gives you the chance to recreate from your memory of an incident. I've written about the Pakistan War, 65, और कैसे हम लोग उसको मजे लेते थे. वॉर हो रही है, उड़ रहे हैं सारे जेट्स ऊपर, और हम लोग भाग के ऊपर जाते थे. when we were supposed to go down and hide in the trenches. तो ड्रिल होती थी, ड्रिल तो कर लेते थे, लेकिन जब एक्चुअल जेट्स ऊपर fly above, so we used to run up to the terrace. All kids used to do that. And we used to say, Didi and I, we girls used to say, we are right next to a mosque. They are never going to bomb the mosque. So, there's a difference between screenplay. I told you the difference between autobiography, screenplay, and a memoir. Memoir is a recreation of those times.
Alright, Jyoti, go ahead.
I'm so happy I'm here for your book launch, and I thought I will buy the book, but then when I realized, so immediately I bought on Amazon, and the way you narrated the story about your mother and your father with emotional, when you were talking about your mother, it made me cry, and it shows in your movies also. You work in art movies.
Yeah.
You are amazing writer, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a question here.
I think we can go all day, but we'll take a couple more.
Yeah, let's take a quick, unless we are driven out of this theatre and we're very hungry, of course.
Yeah.
हाँ जी,
Last one.
आप 16-17 साल की उम्र से मेरी रोल मॉडल रही. आप ही की तरह देख के बाल बनाती थी, कपड़े पहनती थी, पार्क की गलियों में दुपट्टे ढूंढती थी जो आप प्रिंटेड दुपट्टे पहनती थी. अब लगता था शायद कोई उस टाइम पे ना फारूक शेख आके गाना गाएगा. मगर फारूक शेख तो 1983 में न्यूयॉर्क से प्रमोद जैन ने आके बोला कि तुम दीप्ति नवल की तरह लगती हो. मुझे नहीं मालूम था कि ये जो है आपको मेरे से यहाँ में आने के लिए लेके आ रहा है. जो मेरी रोल मॉडल थी वो मुझे इस तरह मिली. एक दिन 1988 में एक लेडी मेरे पास आई कपड़े ऑडिशन कराने के लिए. उन्होंने मुझे कपड़े दिए, मैंने उनकी रिसीप्ट बनाई तो उन्होंने बोला मिसेस नवल लिखो. तो मैंने कहा मिसेस नवल लिखो आंटी, आप दीप्ति नवल को जानते हो? कहती मेरी बेटी है। तो मैंने कहा अच्छा, मैं शॉक हो गई कि मतलब मेरे सामने दीप्ति नवल की मदर खड़ी है। फिर एक दिन अचानक स्मृति खन्ना और राम खन्ना मिले, दीप्ति नवल के वो हैं। तो मैंने कहा लगता है पूरी फैमिली मुझे यहाँ मिल गई है। आज 42 years में मेरा टीम सक्सेसफुल हुआ आपको देखकर।
Thank you so much. That's very inspiring. And I think we will just take one last very quick question, very quick, last one.
Hi, Deepti.
Hello.
First of all, I came from Australia for vacation, and thanks to my uncle, he brought me here. I'm shooting a film in London. My question is, in your book, where you're a poet as well, do you have any expression of your poetry in there too? Like, have you?
I hope that my narrative is poetic.
Wow. Good.
And prosaic.
Yeah, so because I could visualize that if there's a poetry and more of lyrics, so could have. I was imagining a story, that way. A song kind of thing, so
No, there's no poems here.
Cool.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Moving forward with the next segment of our program, let me call upon Dr. Ray. She has something surprise to announce today. And after that, we will have a vote of thanks. But before, please do not leave for...
Deepti ji, I am a teacher from Sacred Heart of Housing. But
Take a mic.
Sorry, I'm going to.
I feel so fortunate to be here today. I taught in Sacred Heart the Housing for 8 years. Wow. But you and Kiran Reddy were given quoted as example every year by Sister Trace, Sister Mary. I worked there and I feel so fortunate to be here today. And got to saw another side. I just watched pictures and you were a fabulous, talented, amazing actress. But I got so emotional when you were reading it. I think we have to process this book you wrote. It's not only a poem, it's so amazing. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you for coming here. All of you, thank you for being here for me. Thanks.
So I just have a real quick announcement, a little award that we wanted to give to Mr. Kulwant Wadhwa of Curry Club at Port Jefferson. Kulwant Sahab, with his unique restaurant for fine dining, aptly called Curry Club, has been a constant presence in Stony Brook and was very popular with students and faculty. The restaurant has now moved to Port Jefferson and it's called Curry Club at Salwar because it's facing the water with a beautiful rooftop seating and amazing water views. He's a very polite gentleman with impeccable manners. Always says yes to everything. Has sponsored numerous events in the community over the years. Whenever you go to him, he's just so nice. He'll say, yes, sure, ho jayega, ho jayega. Aap pareshan ho, aap apna program ki tiyari karo, and we'll get it done. And so to thank him for his services, we would like to present him with a plaque. This is from Amana, the Aligarh Medical Alumni Association. This is going to be a surprise for him, but unfortunately he couldn't be here because of some urgent matters. We would like to invite his daughter, Miss Kiran, to please come and accept the award on his behalf. Mr. Prashant Gupta, can you come up on stage, please?
Means a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll just put my phone down.
Please do not leave after the vote of thanks. We will be having a book signing and also picture session. Right? And without any further ado, let me invite Arvinder Singh Ji for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to have the opportunity to give a vote of thanks on this special day. Thank you, Indu Jaswal, for opening today's program. Me and Indu go back 20 years, but we haven't seen each other in 19 years, so it's great when a program like this brings us together. A huge thank you to Tazeen. I'm honored you asked me to come and help you with this today's event. You were very determined to make this event happen. I mean, there were countless emails and text messages the last 3 days, and my wife kept saying, "Who's this Tazeen lady?" I said, "No, don't worry, she's a good co-worker friend of mine for today's event." Jitin, thank you Jitin, my query is Jitin, our moderator, who I actually met the first time at his film festival in Dallas, and as he mentioned, we're bringing one to Long Island in 3 weeks. He flew out last night. Thank you, you did a great job as usual. Thank you to the sponsors, Aligarh Medical Alumni Association, Indian American Forum, Dr. Itaz Khan, Dr. Nazir Khan, Dr. Tazeen and Mirzabel, Dr. Rubin Patel, Hyatt Pharmacy, Curry Sagar, and Apollo Medical Diagnostic Services. Thank you to the volunteers and SUNY faculty for coming out and helping put this program together. It is not an easy task. But with everyone working together, I believe we did a pretty good job. And of course, thank you, Deepti ji. It's an honor to be here with you, listen to you speak, and tell your story. Long Island will always be your home, so please come back anytime and let us know. Thank you all for coming out today. Please go online and buy the book, A Country Called Childhood. Thank you.
We have Mohinder Janeja ji here from our Suffolk County, and I would like to invite Mohinder ji to say a few words.
Namaste and good afternoon. I'm very pleased to bring greetings from our Suffolk County Executive, Honorable Steve Malone, who is a great of book signing. In this city, we have always been very, very impressed with you, especially today. In book reading, when you were mentioning, I have all the latest of devices, but I use this for my appointment. So again, congratulations and thank you for coming here. Very good.
Thank you, Vendaji. Okay, now I know there are a lot of people have the books and they want the pictures to be taken. So let us all come from the left-hand side and have your pictures taken with Deepti ji. And if you have the books, if you want, anybody has a book, you can. So Flora, are we ready with the book signing?
न जाने मेरे दिल को क्या हो गया, अभी तो यही था अभी खो गया। न जाने मेरे दिल को क्या हो गया, अभी तो यही था अभी खो गया। तुझको तो प्यार सजना, लाख कर ले तू इनकार सजना। दिलदार सजना है ये प्यार सजना। देखा न तूने मुड़ के भी पीछे, कुछ देर तो मैं रुका था।
जब दिल ने तुझको रोकना चाहा, दूर तू जा चुका था।
हुआ क्या
न जाना,
ये दिल क्यों
दीवाना
हो गया है तुझको तो प्यार सजना, लाख कर ले तू इनकार सजना।
हो गया है तुझको तो प्यार सजना, लाख कर ले तू इनकार सजना। दिलदार सजना है ये प्यार सजना।
ऐ वक्त रुक जा, थम जा, ठहर जा, वापस जरा दौड़ पीछे।
मैं छोड़ आई खुद को जहाँ पे, वो रह गया मोड़ पीछे। कहाँ मैं
कहाँ तू,
ये कैसा
है जादू।
अरे हो गया है तुझको तो प्यार सजना, लाख कर ले तू इनकार सजना।
हो गया है तुझको तो प्यार सजना, लाख कर ले तू इनकार सजना। दिलदार सजना है ये प्यार सजना।
न जाने मेरे दिल को क्या हो गया, अभी तो यही था भी खो गया, खो गया।
दुपट्टा, अरे लाल दुपट्टा उड़ गया रे तेरा हवा के झोंके से। लाल दुपट्टा उड़ गया रे तेरा हवा के झोंके से। तुझको पिया ने देख लिया हाय रे धोखे से। मना के तुझे दिल देगा वो मगर अपनी जान देगा वो। मना के तुझे दिल देगा वो मगर अपनी जान देगा वो। ऐसा जादू छा गया मेरे चांद को देख कर, चांद भी शर्मा गया।
मुझे शर्म सी आए, मेरा दिल घबराए,
अरे आप बाहों में चूक न जाए ऐसे मौके से, तुझको पिया ने देख लिया हाय रे धोखे से। माना कि तुझे दिल देगा वो मगर अपनी जान देगा वो,
माना कि मुझे दिल देगा वो मगर मेरी जान लेगा
महका ये समा कहने लगा आ प्यार कर, मेरे सोने यार तू दिल भर से इकरार कर।
तेरे प्यार की खुशबू मेरे सांसों में समा गई, ले सजना सब छोड़ मैं तेरे पीछे पीछे आ गई।
तुझे प्यार हो गया, इकरार हो गया,
अरे अब तो रोके ना रुकूं मैं किसी के रोके से, मुझको पिया ने देख लिया हाय रे धोखे से। माना कि मुझे दिल देगा वो मगर मेरी जान लेगा वो,
माना कि तुझे दिल देगा वो मगर अपनी जान देगा वो।
लाल दुपट्टा उड़ गया रे बेरी हवा के झोंके से,
लाल दुपट्टा उड़ गया रे तेरा हवा के झोंके से। तुझको पिया ने देख लिया हाय रे धोखे से,
माना कि मुझे दिल देगा वो मगर मेरी जान लेगा वो,
माना कि तुझे दिल देगा वो मगर अपनी जान देगा वो। तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुमने न जाने क्या सपने दिखाए। तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुमने न जाने क्या सपने दिखाए। अब तो मेरा दिल जागे न सोता है, क्या करूं हाय कुछ कुछ होता है, क्या करूं हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुमने न जाने क्या सपने दिखाए। अब तो मेरा दिल जागे न सोता है, क्या करूं हाय कुछ कुछ होता है, क्या करूं हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
कैसा एहसास है, बुझती नहीं है क्या प्यास है।
क्या नशा इस प्यार का मुझ पे सनम छाने लगा।
कोई न जाने क्यों चैन खोता है, क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
तन्हाई में दिल यादें संजोता है, क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुमने न जाने क्या सपने दिखाए।
तुम पास आए यूं मुस्कुराए, तुमने न जाने क्या सपने दिखाए।
अब तो मेरा दिल जागे न सोता है, क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ होता है।
क्या करूँ हाय कुछ कुछ